Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice is a DC, whatever our universe's name is now, film, and it's the second to come after Man of Steel. Yeah, don't do what Marvel did by starting out with standalones. Just go straight into ensemble films. And since this is the sequel to Man of Steel, there will be slight spoilers. After the climax of Man of Steel, which saw most of Metropolis destroyed, and while Superman is being called on to answer for the destruction of that city, an older Bruce Wayne takes up the mantle of Batman once again and decides that Superman is an enemy, and everything that happens in the film all accumulates to a final battle between these two titans. Sort of. So two things I must say before I start. One, this film came out 2 months before Captain America Civil War, and both of the films had kind of a similar premise, you know, superheroes fighting one another. So seeing this film would obviously influence my anticipation for Civil War, but I'll get to that a bit later. Two! There are two versions of this film. You have the theatrical cut and then the director's cut, otherwise known as the Ultimate Edition. The Ultimate Edition is 3 hours long, and the theatrical cut is where they took away about 30 minutes of footage, and I understand why they did it because of time constraints, but in this review I will be talking primarily about the theatrical cut, but I will give some thoughts on the director's cut closer to the end. Now that my little public service announcement is out of the way, let's get on to the review. And what better way to start off the review than talking about the performances and just the characters in general. Henry Cavill returns as Superman, and he's just fine. I mean, I really enjoyed him in Man of Steel, and there wasn't enough in Batman vs. Superman of him to really convince me if he's really good or great, or if he's just meh. So as of now, Christopher Reeve is the definitive Superman. Now for Ben Affleck as Batman. He is fucking fantastic in this role. Affleck made me feel invested in this iteration of Bruce Wayne / Batman, and he just gave off this intimidating air that the character of Batman should give off. And for how his character is written, you understand his motives fully. You understand why he thinks Superman needs to be taken down. I'm one of the people who's actually okay with him killing people in this version, because there have been so many iterations of Batman where he killed people. Get over it if you're not a fan. This is the version that we got, just accept it. And that Batman costume in Batman vs. Superman is my absolute favorite on-screen design. I have never been terrified of the Batman look before on screen, but when that first trailer came out and they just show him walking through the rubble, and you just see how hulking, a big hulking mass he is, I actually got terrified. Now, I'm not sure what I think yet. I don't know if he's maybe the best Batman that we've gotten so far, but I'll have to see how I feel when Justice League comes around, but Kevin Conroy is still my definitive Batman, the one from the animated series. And this isn't a spoiler because she's in the fucking trailers, but Wonder Woman is in this movie, and she's played by Gal Gadot. Now, as you guys who have seen my Wonder Woman review, you know that I am very critical about Gal Gadot. I thought she was really good in Wonder Woman in her own standalone film, but when she first showed up, I did not like her. And while her acting really could have been better, she looks amazing as Wonder Woman, and she actually holds the audience's attention during the action sequences. We also have Lex Luthor portrayed by Jesse Eisenberg, and he had as much backlash to his casting as Affleck did, and it was justified. He didn't feel like the Lex Luthor that we grew up with. Either, I don't know, you pick, the Christopher Reeve movies played by Gene Hackman, or the Superman animated series one that ends up becoming president. Eisenberg also took the insane route with the character, and it's not good at all. It just doesn't work. However, he wasn't entirely terrible. I mean, whenever he wasn't being quirky and twitchy and just weird, he did have a few moments where he was a terrifying presence. We have a few supporting characters, but the important two that I do want to talk about a little bit are Alfred Pennyworth, played by Jeremy Irons, who gives a fantastic performance. I loved his iteration of Alfred. I mean, he played a more, I guess you could say a kind of sidekick. He's basically the Oracle to this version of Batman. And of course, Lois Lane, played once again by Amy Adams. For Lois, I did kind of enjoy her in Man of Steel, though I didn't think she was amazing. But in Batman vs. Superman, I didn't care for Lois. She bounced back and forth from being a character that deserved to be in a film, to just simply being there because, you know, hey, I'm Lois Lane, I am a MacGuffin. It just didn't appeal to me. From a narrative standpoint, BVS is just a gigantic mess. I mean, this movie feels like two completely different movies. The first half being a type of political crime drama with Superman in one corner being put under the government's radar for what happened in Metropolis, as well as Batman in detective mode trying to uncover the location of a weapons shipment. And all of this was surprisingly realistic and grounded, and I actually really enjoyed it. But then the second half just blows everything out of proportion, and then everything that we expect from educated guesses to just everything that we've seen in the trailers happens, and the film just becomes this big-ass science fiction superhero mess of a film. And on top of that, there are way too many plot holes and scenes that, even though they are important to the plot, just left me with way too many fucking questions. And it's goddamn frustrating, because when I saw the movie, I really wanted to like it. I didn't have high expectations, but I just wanted to walk out with a smile. But the narrative ruined the entire film for me. One of the biggest issues that I had with the story was actually something that makes me pissed off every time I hear any news about Justice League or I see a new trailer. It actually makes me less excited for it, even though it's not really under Zack Snyder anymore. And that's that there's a scene where there should have just been basically blinking words over the screen that says, "Set up for Justice League." And I have never seen a lazier shoe-in for characters or just another sequel. Hell, at least the one in Age of Ultron was kind of interesting. Though the action sequences are amazing, and actually reminded me of when I was living in San Antonio for, you know, my job training, and I would go to the Barnes & Noble downtown every once in a while, and I'd just read another book. One time I went there to read Dark Knight Returns, and it actually felt like some of the sequences I saw in the movie were brought to life from the book. The visuals in this film, I have the same opinion as I did with Man of Steel. Very CGI heavy, but with the camera style of the director Zack Snyder, it actually looks awesome. However, and again, this is not a spoiler, because it's in the fucking trailer. Actually, I could tell you guys a lot of shit about the movie just because it's in the trailer. But anyway, they have a fully CGI character that's supposed to be big and terrifying, but a lot of us in the theater, including myself, actually started laughing when he popped up on the screen because it just looks like a terribly rendered fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on steroids. The musical score is composed by Hans Zimmer, who had actually previously scored Man of Steel, and we all knew that he could make a really great superhero movie score because, I mean, he scored all three of the Dark Knight trilogy. But this time he collaborated with Junkie XL, who's a Dutch composer who also composed for Deadpool and Mad Max Fury Road. And he helped Zimmer create the new Batman theme, and even the amazing Wonder Woman theme, which I do actually believe is one of the greatest superhero themes ever created. So I'm finished with my critique of the theatrical version. Just in conclusion, I do not recommend that version because there's way too many narrative issues for it to even be considered good. Now let's talk a little bit about the Ultimate Edition. When Warner Brothers had BVS cut up for time constraints, they actually ended up taking out a lot that we actually needed in the story. A lot of scenes that were crucial to character development and just plot progression. So releasing the Ultimate Cut, plot holes were fixed, random scenes weren't so random and actually had a place in the damn plot, and Superman actually got more screen time, and it actually made me think that maybe Henry Cavill is actually a really great Superman? And not even that, they give more of Clark Kent. So at least that means that he's a good Clark Kent. And with the later release of the version that I'm talking about right now, it made film fans happier, including myself. So for all of those reasons that I just listed, as well as the things that I loved about both versions that they both share, I do recommend giving Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, a watch, because though it's not a perfect film, it's still got an interesting premise, and it's just awesome. It's kind of awesome. As always, thank you so much for watching and just listening to me ramble. Please subscribe for more reviews and content. There's always more to come. And also, go ahead, tell me down in the comments, what do you guys think of either version of Dawn of Justice? Well, that'll do it for me. Farewell until the next video. Bye.